Fans across the globe are excited as the highly anticipated Disney Plus Day is finally upon us with plenty of new content to watch. And of course, the House of Mouths couldn't let this day pass by without giving us another beloved classic turned live-action remake. This time it's the 1940 hit Pinocchio. Hello and welcome back to Slurp. Today we're going to be looking at 10 things Disney changed in the live-action remake of Pinocchio. But before we do, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon to be kept up to date with all our latest content. And if you want to know our thoughts on the 2022 Pinocchio, you can check out our full review on the channel. So without further ado, let's jump into our list of 10 things Disney changed in the live-action Pinocchio. Coming in at number 10 is Disney Cameos. When it comes to comparing the animation between Pinocchio's animation to the Disney classic Snow White that came before, there's no denying that the team was pushed much harder. Not only was the character design incredible for its time in making the puppet resemble a real boy, but the traditional special effects we see in animated film today, such as weather, moving vehicles, magic, and clocks had never been done before to such a scale. The animators worked on certain elements in the movie for a year just to make them as convincing as possible. So of course, fast forward to 2022, Disney wanted to pay tribute to the animators' hard work who first brought the film to life. The clocks in Gepetto's workshop played a huge part in setting up the backstory of the tragic loss of his wife and son who adored the clocks he crafted. Disney still kept some of the cuckoo clock characters we saw in the first movie, but they took it one step further and gave us a huge amount of cameos in this scene. I mean, of course, it's Disney. It's become a trend in itself for huge franchises to place Easter eggs around a movie for eagle-eyed watchers to spot and discuss. In the scene in Gepetto's workshop, we see the array of clocks on the wall, and alongside the classic old-fashioned figures you'd expect to see pop out, we also spotted the likes of Toy Story's Woody and Bullseye, Donald Duck, Dumbo, Rafiki, and Simba from The Lion King, Roger and Jessica Rabbit, Maleficent, and Sleeping Beauty. Of course, this was added to the script as the 1940 Pinocchio didn't give us any hidden cameos. But a nice touch from Disney indeed. Number 9. Geppetto's backstory. In the 1940 Pinocchio, Geppetto's backstory is never fully revealed as to why he's on his own, and it appears that he creates the puppet simply because his hobby is woodshop crafting. And although he appears to have deeper reasoning for wishing upon a star for Pinocchio to become a real boy, his backstory is left to the viewer's imagination. But in the remake, Geppetto's backstory is made clear from the get-go, and as sad as it is, it clarifies why he longs for his wish to come true. The carpenter builds the puppet through grief after losing his son, whose photograph sits beside him on his work desk. Geppetto's real son appears to be around the age of 8 or 9 in the photo, which is around the same age Pinocchio is when he comes to life. After the blue fairy grants Geppetto's wish, blue beams come down from the sky, hitting the photo of his son and reflecting onto Pinocchio, which brings him to life. So it's possible that Disney is alluring to the fact that Pinocchio is the spirit of his son, or if this is simply someone he will come to see as his own son. At number 8, Pinocchio's name. Much like Geppetto's backstory in the original film, the reasoning behind Pinocchio's name never came with an explanation. While some viewers may have clocked onto this before now, Disney had Geppetto give his explanation loud and clear, just to make sure we're all up to speed. Once Geppetto has finished crafting the puppet and it's still an inanimate object, he says, "I carved you out of wood, I made you out of pine." And so the name Pinocchio was born. But that still leaves us wondering where Occhio came from. While the name Pinocchio is a combination of Italian words Pino meaning pine and Occhio meaning eye. So while it directly translates to pine eye or eye of pine, it references Geppetto's line, "I made you out of pine." Number 7. New characters. It's not uncommon for Disney to introduce us to new characters in their remakes to add to the storyline and fill in missing gaps in a plotline. So it was no surprise to see American actress Kaina Lamea appear as a new character named Fabina. Fabina is a puppeteer who's a part of Stromboli's traveling show in which she performs alongside Pinocchio with her puppet Sabina. In the 1940 film, we do see Stromboli's show and performing puppets on stage, but we don't see the puppeteers behind the strings. And no definitive character came from this scene in the original. Whereas Fabina, or more so her puppet Sabina, offers friendly advice to Pinocchio and a shoulder to lean on multiple times in the film. Fabina's character also brings closure to another storyline that was left open in the 1940 film as Stromboli heads off in his horse-drawn carriage into the night, not to be mentioned again. But following Stromboli's show where he exploits Pinocchio, he managed to escape, and we later find out that Fabina takes over his traveling act as he's thrown in jail. Number 6. Monstro, he's a whale of a whale. Monstro is the final antagonist introduced in both Disney's renditions of Pinocchio. The giant man-eating whale is feared by the whole ocean, known for swallowing anything that crosses its path, including entire ships. In the animated film, Monstro is simply a huge sperm whale, whereas in the CGI remake, Monstro is referred to as a sea monster as he has mythical features like tentacles and feathered fins. It seems as though Disney took inspiration from Jurassic World's Mosasaurus for the creature's redesign. But the design of the evil whale isn't the only thing Disney changed in this plotline. Whilst the sea monster poses a threat in both films, the narrative of how the characters come face to face with him differs. The 1940 movie saw Geppetto, his cat Figaro, and fish Cleo swallowed by Monstro on his boat, who was later found by Pinocchio after searching the ocean floor with his sidekick Jiminy Cricket. But in the remake, with the help of the new character Sofia the Seagull as a makeshift jet ski, he crosses the ocean to find Geppetto in his boat before Monstro swallows them both at the same time. At number 5. Sofia the Seagull. As previously mentioned, Sofia the Seagull is a new CGI character introduced and voiced by American actress Lorraine Bracco. The street-smart bird befriends Jiminy Cricket after thinking he was about to become the bird's next snack, and it seems like she's known Geppetto for some time as she was first introduced to the audience when Geppetto came out of his home to feed her some garbage, seeming like this was a regular occurrence. Sofia quickly becomes a helpful ally that helps drive the plot forward at numerous points in the story. She helps Jiminy catch up to Pinocchio on his way to school after oversleeping, guides Geppetto to Pinocchio at Pleasure Island, and helps Jiminy and Pinocchio cross the ocean to reunite the family. Sofia was definitely a great addition to the storyline, but it was interesting that she appeared to only be able to communicate in English with Jiminy Cricket as opposed to Geppetto, who could only hear bird squawking sounds when she was attempting to communicate with him, though he could understand a wooden boy with no problem. Number 4. Role reversal. As previously mentioned, the third act sees the ultimate climax of Sea Beast Monstro's attack, which leads to both films seeing Pinocchio and Geppetto lighting a fire inside the beast, which causes him to sneeze and escape on their boat. In both renditions, they manage to escape through an opening in a rock formation after an intense chase scene. But both versions tell different accounts of who appears to have survived the ordeal. In the animated version, we see what appears to be Pinocchio lifeless after washing onto shore following the battle with Monstro, where he is later brought back to life and transformed into a real boy by the Blue Fairy. In the live-action scene, we see Pinocchio crying over Geppetto's lifeless body when his tears appear to be magic and bring him back to life. But I think we can all agree that the most impressive thing in both versions is that Cleo the goldfish managed to stay in the fishbowl after an epic ocean battle with a sea monster. It's coming in at number 3. Pleasure Island. Pleasure Island is a cursed island that first appears in the 1940 film and is fronted by the villainous coachman, designed to turn mischievous boys into donkeys. If this didn't terrify you as a kid, we don't know what did. With the coachman running the island, he hires crooks like Honest John to collect boys and bring them to Pleasure Island where they're free to do as they please. In this case, drinking alcohol, smoking, fighting, and vandalizing property. Essentially, the island is designed as a paradise for delinquent boys free of the law and their parents. So we definitely had a feeling Disney would make a few changes to the 8-year-old smoking puppet we originally saw. The 2022 remake sees no connection with Honest John recruiting young boys, which is an element we wished Disney had included. But instead, Pinocchio is swept from the streets by the passing coachman in his cart full of boys and girls, so it seems no naughty child is safe, regardless of their gender. The filmmakers go to extravagant lengths to give us an insight into Pleasure Island in the remake compared to the brief exterior scene we see in the original. The filmmakers have definitely modernized the script in relation to Pleasure Island, as producer Andrew Miano described the scene in an interview, saying that the team wanted to make Pleasure Island tempting and scary in ways that are relevant to parents and kids today. He went on to say, in the original film, they were drinking beer and smoking cigars, whereas now they are on a sugar rush drinking root beer, and we also include elements like bullying and social media. At number 2. New songs. Even if you haven't seen the original Pinocchio, we're pretty confident you would have heard to Disney classic When You Wish Upon a Star at some point. In fact, if you've watched any Disney movie ever, you will have heard to instrumental, as it's their movie intro backing track and essentially the company's branding. Not to mention the hit also won an Oscar. It's safe to say this is one thing we're happy Disney didn't completely change or remove. Although the song was originally sung by Jiminy Cricket, the CGI film saw the Blue Fairy actress Cynthia Erivo lend her stunning voice and provide her rendition of the track when she brings the puppet to life. We also still got to hear Hi Diddle Dee performed by Keegan-Michael Key as antagonist Honest John. as well as Pinocchio's performance of "I've Got No Strings" during Stromboli's show. And while we were still graced with the classic beloved Pinocchio songs, songwriters on the 2022 remake Glenn Ballard and Alan Silvestri added 4 brand new songs after producer Robert Zemeckis felt that songs do best in musicals that shore up the emotional growth of a character or help express what they are feeling at any given moment. And so the film gave us a spoken song When He Was Here With Me performed by Tom Hanks, who also brought the new song Pinocchio Pinocchio, along with I Will Always Dance performed by Kian Lamaya and The Coachman to Pleasure Island performed by Luke Evans. And coming in at our number 1 spot, the ending. Pinocchio's goal in both movies is to prove himself as brave, unselfish, and truthful. As promised by the Blue Fairy, if Pinocchio manages to become these things, his dream will become reality and he will be transformed into a real boy. In the animated film, the ending wrapped how it was set out. Pinocchio learns the value of being a good person after facing some obstacles and is granted his transformation. But the CGI remake took a different approach and essentially left the ending open to interpretation. Gepetto tells Pinocchio that he has become everything the Blue Fairy had asked him to be, telling Pinocchio, "You will always be my real boy. There isn't a single thing I would change about you. I am so very proud of you and I love you so very much." At this stage, we expected Pinocchio to have a grand, very magical Disney transformation. But Geppetto and Pinocchio begin to make their way home into the distance when Pinocchio does in fact transform into a real boy. But as this is happening, the story's narrator, Jiminy Cricket, appears in the frame to explain what's happening. With the theme of When You Wish Upon a Star playing out the scene, he goes on to say, "Many stories have been told about him. Many people believe he was transformed into an honest-to-goodness real boy. Did that actually happen? Who knows? But I do know one thing for sure. In his heart, Pinocchio was as real as any real boy could ever be." The ending was definitely left open to interpretation, and it definitely seems as though Zemeckis was driving the point of, it doesn't matter if the character went through physical change, he was a real boy on the inside through the lessons he's learned. And that's our list of 10 things Disney changed in the 2022 remake of Pinocchio. Have you seen Pinocchio on Disney Plus yet? Let us know if you noticed any other changes the House of Mouse made to their latest reimagined classic. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more awesome content, and thanks for watching.
The clock, it's 2 a.m. and you're hitting me up. Guess you wanna make love, are we more than friends? This happens every other night, we can't get enough. I asked you, are you mine? And you said, life's kinda bright whenever we're together. Fuck is a 4-letter word, I know.